You may. Councilmember Kelly is absent. Councilmember Turner?
Here.
Councilmember Perkins?
Here.
Councilmember Armstrong?
Here.
Councilmember Granillo?
Here.
Vice Mayor Mendoza?
Here.
Mayor Miller?
Here.
We are all here.
Okay. Item 2, presentation and discussion with Mark Reeder, Managing Director with Stifel, Nicholas and Company Incorporated regarding debt financing of the new police department and refinancing of the 2010 U.S. Bank Series bond. Mr. Duffy.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor and Council. Mark Reeder, with the Managing Director for Stifel, Nicholas and Company, is here to do a brief presentation and answer any questions that Mayor and Council might have this evening. And Mark, I'll do the PowerPoint,
Okay,
and just let me know when you want me to change slides.
yeah, can you all hear me?
Yes,
Yes.
sir.
Okay, well, thank you, Joe, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. Good evening. I look forward to being up there in person at our next meeting. I think with that, Joe's going to bring the PowerPoint presentation up. We've been interacting very closely with staff on this, on these matters. We kind of have a couple things, as you mentioned, is the refinancing for the city at a pretty significant savings, debt service savings to the city, and also the consideration of moving forward with a new money revenue bond transaction by the town for purposes of constructing your new police facility. And I know there's some numbers that may be changing a little bit. We'll go through that here momentarily. So with that, Mr. Mayor, members of the council, we'll go ahead and take you really, Joe, if you don't mind, take me to page 2 real quick.
Okay.
Next page there, if you could, please. Mr. Mayor, members of the council, obviously, you're aware that we are in a very attractive interest rate environment. As you all know, they percolated up a tad recently, but nothing really significant. This is a chart that shows kind of what the interest rates in the municipal bond market have been over the past really 5 years or so. And we wanted to kind of share with you really on the right-hand side, you know, when COVID hit, as you can see there back in March of 20, and then the resulting ups and downs of the interest rate market, and the low point, as you can see, probably in August of 20 was an all-time historical low on the right-hand side there. And then as the economy started, you know, percolating and turning back on a little bit, there's been some indications of some inflationary fears, but the good news is on the right-hand side, we're at or near all-time historical lows. It's being driven by a variety of market factors. Since your bonds are exempt from federal and state taxation, and because the Biden administration, as you all know, is considering raising income tax rates, that's been good for our municipal bond market, as we've had a lot of money chasing relatively few bonds. So I'm going to kind of put that into perspective for you, but we did want to share with council, and we know you're aware of the market, but it's a very, very attractive time to be issuing refinancing and new money bonds for our cities across the state. Next page. Mr. Mayor, members of the council, we know you're in budget season, and I'm sure you're very familiar with your outstanding bonds. The city's done a good job of not having a lot of debt over the years. We know that you take the issuance of debt very seriously, but over the years, we have issued some. Back in 2010. We issued some bonds for the Cameron property on the left-hand side. Okay, and you can see that was 5% coupons there, 5% interest rates. And then we issued some refinancing bonds back in 2010. And you can see those are about the 4.25 range. And we also did a refinancing back in 2016 there on the right-hand side. And we're going to take all of this out. We think that there's savings associated not only with the 2010s, but Joe had asked us to look at the 2016. And because of the low interest rates over that 5-year period, we think that's another attractive opportunity for you. So you got about 8.1 million outstanding, and we're looking at the moment to take all those out. Next page, Joe. Thank you. Mr. Mayor, members of the council, this is kind of a budget. we have really kind of three sets of numbers. The first set of numbers at the top where it says refunding obligation, that's our refinancing. And if you go down, it's about 8.5 million. Okay. And we're going to show you the savings in a moment. And you can see down below that most of that money is going to go ahead and pay off those old bonds, which we can redeem without any penalty. Okay. So that's really kind of that column. Have some costs in here that we're reconciling with staff. Bear with us on that. And then in the third column there, I guess, second set of numbers, that's the new money component. And if you go down to the project fund, at the moment, and this number may change, we would deposit about $7 million into your construction account for purposes of your facility. And in talking to staff, there's possibly some interest in the town contributing some cash. And if that is the case, we'll go ahead and lower the amount that we borrow, but we went ahead and put in a $7 million budget here for you at the moment. And then we just combine those into one issue. Next page. So I'm just going to spend a few minutes with you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. I'm sorry there's so many numbers here, but here's the bottom line on the refinancing is that in column 8, we think there's some real significant savings here where we're going to take out your 4 and 5% money and we're going to get you money in less than the 2% range on a refinancing because it's a shorter period. We are not extending any debt. We know that's important to you. And you can see that at the end of the day, we're expecting to save for budgeting purposes in column 9, pushing $1.5 million. If you see the numbers there. So call it $145,000 to $150,000 of pure budget savings as a result of the refinancing of the 2010s and the 16s. So that adds up to $1,488,000 there, I think is the number. And then we always put that savings into a present value into today's dollars. And the net present value savings, as you can see, there's almost $1,387,000 there in the green, which represents a very efficient refinancing for the city. So that's really kind of the refinancing component. And then I'll have Joe take us to page 6 if you could. And then I'm going to talk about the new money component, the debt service associated with that. Mr. Mayor, members of the council, the way our Arizona cities and towns, most of them issue bonds for public infrastructure improvements that they have to do from time to time. And this is the same way in which we issued the 2010s and the 2016 bonds for your city, for your town. The town will pledge this wide variety of revenues. And obviously your local city sales tax is your lifeblood for your community. Congratulations on a fantastic year. I'm on 2021 and Mr. Duffy had given us some estimates of how he sees 2021 ending here in about 2 weeks. And you can see your local sales tax revenues are up about 1.5 million over last year. So obviously good news. I know you're aware of that. And then we have our franchise tax, our state shared sales, and our state shared income taxes. As you can see there, again, all in all, very strong to wrap up the year. And then the vehicle license tax at about $1 million. So that adds up to about 13.6 million in pledged revenues, up from about 11.8 million the previous year. Okay, so that'll be the kind of the structure of the collateral provisions of the bonds, which again is very, very common across the state for our cities, towns, and counties. Next page. Okay, so this is a page where we outline the pledged revenues in column 2. That's what I just went over for you. And then column 3 is the refinancing of our bonds that we talked about, the lower amount. And then we layered in column 4, 5, and 6, the $7 million for the new money improvements for our police facility. And so we can tweak this any way you want, but we had done essentially about a 20-year amortization, principal and interest in column 8 of roughly $440,000 per year. And again, we're going to save 100 and I think it was 125 or 150 in the earlier years. So that certainly helps, right? That's good news. And then we layered in the new money component there at the moment at about 440,000. The final column to the right is something investors are like to see. And it shows that for every dollar of debt service that you have about $9 in revenues to cover. And that's considered very, very strong. 8.64 times. So that's how we kind of laid out the math on a conceptual basis for our study session. And then I'll go through our calendar, Mr. Mayor, members of the council, and I'm glad to answer any questions that the council might have. On this next page, we're having a study session this evening for some direction to proceed. And then if we get that, we're going to be moving forward somewhat expeditiously. We're going to pursue and start preparing for our credit rating agency conference calls with staff. And we're looking forward to that as we parallel track that. Right after the 4th of July there, you can see around July the 6th, then we would be coming back to council to adopt a resolution authorizing the issuance of the refinancing and the new money bonds and delegating the authority to our town manager and finance director to work closely with us. And then we'd be in a position to sell the bonds down below there, probably 3rd week of July. And we would close the issue first couple of weeks of August, at which time you'd be in a position to award a construction contract. And then we would obviously close on the refinancing. So, Mr. Mayor, members of the council, staff, I hope that was helpful. With that, I'll go ahead and take a pause, and I'm glad to answer any questions you might have. Thank you.
All right, anyone have any questions?
So Joe, in 2 months, basically, if we move forward with this in 2 months, financing could be complete.
Yes.
And also, if we get to that point, we get financing, we look at interest rates, construction costs, whatever, we can make whatever changes we want to. There's no obligation at that point.
Right. And so we'll also, once we know what that bid number is, then we'll be able to make the decision.
Okay.
Yay or nay, and how much we want to finance at that point.
Okay.
So that was our goal, is to do it concurrently with the bidding. As soon as we have the bid numbers in, then be able to do this. So this might push forward depending on when the bids actually get done. But the architect said they have 100% plans ready this week. The attorney is reviewing the bid documents, and Frank needs to review all the plans, the 100% plans. And so we're very, very close to going out to bid.
And how long do you expect that to take?
Oh, how long? What's the bid length, do you think?
Wasn't it 5 weeks
4 to 6 weeks.
on the schedule? I'm sorry, I thought it was 5 weeks, what I remember.
Okay.
Annie, while Lonnie's thinking, go ahead.
Just on Appendix C,
Put your mic down in front of you.
my apologies. On Appendix C, estimated all-in TAC on the new money is 2.36%. Does that mean we're not going to be getting the same rate as refinancing? Am I reading that correctly? If you could explain it to me, I'd appreciate it.
Yeah, Joe, you want to bring that up?
Yeah.
Page,
7, right?
Yes.
yeah, we tried to share that with you because we wanted to kind of break it out for council. On page 7.
On the new money,
What page is that in ours? What page is that in?
7.
So down in,
Page 11.
down in footnote C, Mr. Mayor, members of the council, we got some estimates these might change a little bit, or these will change a little bit depending upon when we go into the market. And as you know, all of our sizing can change all the way up until the day we go in as you reconcile your construction budget. But here's what we're coming up with in footnote C. We hope this is helpful. That the all-in rate for the refinancing is about 140. You like that number?
Yeah.
Okay, and that's because it's only about 10-year paper. And bonds are very similar to CDs. When we go down to the bank, the longer we invest them, we get a little higher return each year. So the good news on our refinancing, because it's relatively short, we think we're going to come in less than 1.5%. That's going to get us that pretty significant level of savings I shared with you. The new money, and we can change this any way you want, Mr. Mayor, members of the council, Mrs. Blackmore, and Mr. Duffy and staff, that is about a 20-year amortization. You see column 4. And we were doing that, working closely with staff to get a debt service payment, somewhere around 440. If you wanted that to be a little higher, we could shorten the bonds. That'll save a little bit of interest, obviously. And we're coming up with about 236, 2.3%, 2.36% 20-year money. Okay, not bad, right? And then when we combine all those, this will change a little bit. You can see in footnote C, we're actually less than 2%. So please bear with me on these rates. But as of the other day, when we updated everything, we're kind of in the 140, the 240 range, and on average, somewhere around 2%, give or take. So I hope that answers your question, members of the council.
Thank you for clarifying.
The column 7, is that why the breaking point at that 10-year? I
Yeah.
don't understand column 7.
Yeah, that's
Okay. Yeah, go ahead, Joe.
that's the existing debt plus the new debt for the first 10 years. And then once the existing debt's paid off, then it drops down with just the new debt payments.
Okay.
Okay.
Tom?
No.
Eric? Lion, do you have something else?
Nope.
On some of these, you have them, are you locked into the 10-year or the 20-year? Or you're locked in for a minimum time period generally, correct?
Yeah. Mark, the new money will be callable in 10 years.
Yes.
Okay.
So no early payment before 10
On any
years.
of this,
You're
right.
locked in for that,
Right.
that time. Okay. Mark, when does our interest rates lock in? Is it only when we sell them, or is there a time before?
Yeah, that is correct. Go to the calendar real quick, Joe, if you don't mind. And I know this is important to you as you reconcile your construction bids and you determine the exact amount of bonds you want to issue for the police facility, right? So if you go to the calendar that we laid out there in the back, I'm going to it right now. You would approve the resolution and all the documents on July 13th unless we change it, okay, which we can. And then if you go down below where it says July 14th, that means we're going to get the offering document out to investors. And then the week of July 19th, right? If you look on the calendar there, maybe the week of July 26th, depending upon how your construction cost estimates coming in and market conditions, we're going to go ahead and price the bonds either the week of the 19th or the 26th. When we price them, we lock them into fixed interest rates.
Okay.
No adjustments going forward. We know exactly what our debt service payments is over the coming years.
All right. Yeah. If you want,
Well, I just wanted to.
microphone.
I'm still in favor of the town contributing the $1 million and not taking that out on a loan. I don't know how everyone else feels on that. I kind of want to get a pulse on that.
I didn't I didn't hear you either. I'm sorry. I'm sitting right next to you.
That's okay. You needed those hearing
Yeah,
aids.
I did.
I am personally still in favor of the town doing the $1 million that we have allocated already, kind of set aside for it, instead of taking the full loan for the $7 million.
I
That's
think,
my opinion.
Joe, is this not just worst case scenario?
Yeah, this is worst case scenario. So once we have the bids and we know what the bids come in, then we can have that discussion on how much we want to put down. And so let's say
Okay.
the bids come in at 6, we decide to put $1 million, then we only borrow $5 million
You mean they come in at 5.5?
or 5.5.
How about
Right.
4.7?
Or 4 yeah, whatever. Yeah, I think
5.5 is the magic
3.2,
number.
whatever the number is. Yes, but we'll probably have that discussion at the meeting when we're doing the resolution. Well, as soon as we have the bid results, we'll be able to
Okay,
have that discussion.
thank you for
Yes.
clarifying.
Okay. Anything else on this at all? All good?
Good.
All right.
All right. Thank you, Mark. Appreciate
you,
your
Mark.
time tonight.
Thank you. Look forward to seeing you. Thank you very much, council.
I'm
Good
following
night.
it. Thank you, sir. All right, item 3, presentation and discussion of Hacks appraisal land valuations, results for Old Home Manor, and possibly a move forward with the sale of town-owned land. Maggie, oh, you're over here now. Sorry.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. So the appraisal came in, and it actually came in just kind of where we expected it, so it was very good news. Drum roll. Okay, so how we went about it is we asked them to do an appraisal on a 20-acre, 40, 60, and 80-acre parcel. Bearing in mind that, like bulk sale, more land that you try to get, it's gonna be a little bit cheaper. So we asked them to
Sure
do
it is.
a little bit across the board. The value estimates have a 2-year shelf life, which is good. And he took the sales comparison approach for valuation, which is the most accurate because it's based on your current market conditions and current listings. Okay. So here are the results. I will not read all of these to you, but there's the 20, 40, 16, 80. It's kind of hovering around the 30,000 mark like we anticipated. So as a scenario, we can kind of look at the 40-acre parcel, seeing as that all the parcels out at Old Home Manor are 40 acres each. At a mid value, you're looking at 32,000 an acre. So at a 40-acre parcel, it's a little bit over $1.2 million. And just for reference, there's a total of 11 40-acre parcels out at Old Home Manor. And of those, 5 of those 40 acres are the business park zoning. Keeping in mind that all town-owned land sales will come before council, staff is seeking direction on moving forward with selling the land at Old Home Manor. And so basically the next steps is getting direction from council, and then we would look to hire a large commercial broker to list and sell it. And looking at probably just keeping it at the 40 acres and below to get started and see what interest is out there. And now we open for questions. That's it, short and sweet. So let me go back to the, Aaron, how do I get back to the,
Okay, I need some clarification first.
sure.
We talked about selling land for the RV park. And now you just said we're gonna sell whatever land is out there with a broker for whoever wants it?
So, no. So, yeah, we're looking definitely at selling land to an RV park. But this is also looking at possibly the business park. Is that being an option? I think we had talked about before the parcel that's on the very corner of the business park at Rodeo and Jerome would be a nice one to sell eventually, seeing as all the utilities are right there. But definitely with the RV park, the idea was to, start to sell some of the land to take that money and reinvest it at the infrastructure at Old Home Manor.
Okay, but
So-
this is what my brain was thinking, and I could be off base, but we okayed building a short, I think it was 4 lots, wasn't it? Of a T road, sewer, gas, water.
Yeah, so that's.
And then we talked about either renting and or selling that. And then it came in about the RV park, which we could extend that road out to the RV park, or extend utility, excuse me, out to the RV park from that point. And now, like I said, now I just, from reading what you said, it seemed like we were just gonna open up all of Old Home Manor.
Well, I think what we're kind of looking to do is definitely look at selling the business park. And I was just giving a reference as how many 40-acre parcels are out there that could be a possibility later. And that's something that we can definitely put in a controlled environment and say, hey, broker, here's what we're looking at right now. Possibly just list this portion. Because we do have interest in an RV park developer right now out there. I think the bigger picture is also the business park. Seeing as we weren't getting anywhere in leasing it, and I think in our last conversation that was talked about, was it wasn't working. And so we were going to try to sell it.
Oh, I'm not opposed to this, but what I'm wanting is more of a map or a diagram showing what we're considering selling, what pieces, and not just the whole thing open. And if I'm
Okay.
inappropriate, please correct me, guys.
Well, I think that, didn't you say there was 11 40-acre parcels?
Yes, and so the last time we did this, I did have a map, and I should have included it in here. My apologies. But the map that showed the blue being the business park, and then the green being possible RV, et cetera. We had that, and I probably should have included it in here for clarification. But we're looking at probably the business park initially, and then RV park area. So-
Does the council wish to put parameters on what's going to be for sale and what's not, or just let it all be open for sale?
Well, I think that has been some of my concern with selling the properties is do we have enough, what is going to be, once it sells, then what is our control? It's our general code
So
and so on of what might go in.
yeah, so for the business park, because it's listed as zoning business park, we did put stipulations. If you recall, there are permitted uses, conditional uses, and prohibited uses. So those will remain in place because that zoning's there.
Right. What about the rest of the parcels? The rest of the parcels are kind of fair game.
So they're considered public land. So in that case, for example, if an RV park came in and they wanted to make an offer, you would, Frank, can you help me out a little bit on this part? I think you would rezone it for the use, but you can put in the restrictions to make the use only as RV park. And I think Andrew went over that last time. That's correct. You would make it either a PAD or something where you restricted it to only being able to develop as an RV park. So for example, if they came in and they bought it, and they said, oh, never mind, we don't want to do an RV park, that would not be a possibility because we
Right.
would restrict it.
They
And that would
can't
also,
they can't resell it for another purpose.
we could put that into, and this is the thing, this is why it's so raw and new, we could put that into any sort of sales contract that absolutely, there would be conditions based upon how they develop it. That can all be wrote into a contract. And that's why I would always come before council,
Mm-hmm.
before any of that occurred, so that you could make sure that wasn't occurring. Yep, correct.
Yeah, Mayor.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, so I think just to sum it up, council still has control over how that land is going to develop. The zoning that's already on the property, any changes that would have to be made would come before you for decision. And also, the sale of the land in general, anytime anything was sold, you would have control on that.
And I understand that, but I'd hate, and don't get me wrong, but I'd hate for us to go out, say the chunk of the 40 acres over by the ballpark, and some guy says, oh man, I want this chunk of land. Well, it's not even going to be considered to be for sale. You see what I'm saying?
Sure, yep.
And that's what their statement on the next slide, when it said get a broker, it kind of spooked me a little bit, because I think we need to have, I personally think we need to have parameters of what's going to be for sale and then what isn't.
Yeah, I don't wanna
And
put out
maybe
a-
I'm wrong, maybe
I don't
it was-
want to put out a blanket 11 parcels of 40 acres
Oh,
apiece, just sell them willy-nilly. That's crazy.
Okay, and that was, sorry, I should have been more specific once again. Absolutely, when we would hire someone, we would say, here are the parcel numbers that we want to sell. And my thoughts were the business park first, and then like the 3 parcels that could be RV park. And that was kind of it right now, because the rest of it's not really, there yet, so to speak, in terms of any infrastructure being there or what we want to necessarily do with it. But we already kind of aimed to the area where we want the RV park located and where the business park is at.
What about the gas? Who's, Frank, is that you? You can use mine.
Oh, okay. Sorry, Mr. Mayor.
It's okay.
As far as the gas goes, right now it's in the hands of the gas company to try and figure out if they can design a line to get to Old Home Manor. And right now they're struggling to see if they have enough gas to get there with the
Okay.
current infrastructure they have. So we've asked for a 6-inch line out there, and they're not sure they can provide enough volume of gas with the current infrastructure to be able to supply that 6-inch line. So that's where it's kind of stalled out
Especially
right
they
now.
keep waiting, huh?
Well,
So, but wouldn't that not, the gas be enhance our value of the land?
I believe so. So, and then to add to what he was saying, because I've been in contact with Unisource as well over, gosh, we've been talking to them for a year and a half on this.
a
With
struggle.
little response, it's still at the engineers, and then it was, well, we may not have a big enough gas line to Chino Valley, period, which comes back on them, right? So I reached out again a few weeks ago, same response.
There's a 3-foot gas line just out Perkinsville Road a little bit.
So,
Yeah, you would think.
Anyway, this is not directed at anybody in this room because there's nobody here that was here. But Old Home Manor has been a thing where we've thrown money here and then it died. And then we threw money here and then that went away. And we threw money here. I would like us to be ready to go prepared if it's at all possible. And I don't know if there's any way to pressure the gas company or they may be like APS where you just get what you get when you get it. But I don't know if that's possible
Yeah,
because
they're-
if the gas is going to be beneficial in our sale of the property, plus make it more marketable, which if a manufacturing plant was coming here, I don't think they'd want to run on propane or or electric if they could
Mhm.
use gas.
And we could even use the approach. I believe there's a 4-inch line that runs down Perkinsville for a ways. So we could even look at seeing if they would be willing to extend that one. And it may limit some of the potential uses of that gas, but it might get some gas out there. It might be better than no gas.
I agree. What are you pointing at?
okay.
Somebody's
That's
Why-
the map of Old Home Manor right there on the screen.
Why am I squinting?
The gas is about what's that called? Camino del Sol on
Ooh,
Perkinsville Road,
yeah,
isn't it? Right,
just-
right around there.
Just past Chino 1, I think, right
Yeah.
there. Yep. And their station, it's whatever equates to like an electrical substation is adjacent to the ADOT yard on the highway.
Mm.
So that's where the 6-inch line would originate
From there, so they would have to come from there all the way down.
on Adams and Highway 89.
I don't know. That's just my thoughts on it, and I'll let it go at that. But that's what I'm thinking.
Well, we don't want to advertise the possibility of gas at the point, we don't even know if we can get it there at all. So if we're gonna advertise gas, we need to wait until we know whether we're gonna get
Oh,
it or
I
not.
agree, but I think it makes it more
Makes it
marketable
more marketable.
and more valuable in the same swoop.
I guess you go to the gas company and say, put up or put out.
I don't know if
I
we have
wish it were
that.
that easy.
Well, it's just been very hard to get them to respond. As Frank knows, it's the same scenario again and again. And I believe it's because they don't have a large enough line into town, period. Which means that's a project for them, right? Or
Hasn't
am I mistaken?
it been a couple years we've been working on this?
Yeah, and it's pretty much been a struggle for the couple of years it's the way it works with the gas company. It's up to their engineers to design it. We have no control over who designs it with the gas
So
company.
I understand that part. I just didn't know if there was any way to pressure them or.
I don't know, the franchise agreement, we can look and see when that's coming due. I think it's due in the next 3 years.
Can you select which parcels would be for sale?
Sure.
Okay, that's all I got.
So the U shape here, or C, whatever you want to call it, Frank sees a U, and I think I see a C, something like that. This is the business park, right?
Mhm.
So it would be my recommendation to, even without gas, even though I believe that's true, it's more marketable, to possibly market just the business park. And then the RV park area would be, here are the ball fields for reference. These are the three that we've kind of picked out as a possible RV park location. I will say we have received a letter of intent from a developer that's local that was looking, they were in escrow on another parcel up over here, and it was 30% in a flood zone. And Frank made them aware of other issues that they had. They eventually came to me, and they wrote a letter of intent, which I not have been able to respond to until I know that we will be able to sell the land to them. But they are very serious. They've already got some plans wrote out and everything. So I don't know, maybe we could start off with just trying to sell to the RV park and then think about the business park later. But my recommendation would be to try to sell the business park and the RV spot.
Don't we want water and sewer to the RV park before they build it?
I'll let Frank cover that. Was that okay, Frank? Since you and I went out there and we were discussing ways to intermittently problem solve that. There's water, so here's the business park again. Here's the college. We have two huge, well, I don't know, how many gallons per minute? I mean,
Big.
they're big wells.
Thousands of gallons a minute withdrawal authority, but we would have to, we already use, as far as wells we already use, we call it the college well that's by our Quonset hut. We now have the authority and are currently using that to serve the college, the equestrian facility, and the treatment plant, their potable water. So we could, depending on storage requirements, there may need to be some tanks there, but we could use that well as a satellite service area in the interim if we need to, before we get the extension up rodeo of our entire system.
And the other one's over
So
here.
you would almost want to look at a cost benefit analysis between the two options.
And
Well,
then
but-
sewer?
But
Would
we,
that
s-
have to
yeah,
go-
we still have to get the sewer there.
The sewer still have to go down to Rodeo Drive?
Yeah, sewer, if depending on how they do the hookups, get the sewer, or else we look at potentially a dump station close to the plant to where they could come in and dump with some of the extensions we're doing in the phase 1 project that's soon to be constructed.
As an interim solution, so we can get someone in there operating as we start to get visitors coming, which we're going to, and with no place to stay, just an interim solution before we can actually get all of the rest of the
I'm-
infrastructure up.
I'm in agreement with the RV park. I just want to be ready. I don't want it to be, again, something we're going to attack and not be ready for.
And
I
we,
want it to be ready and done, if we're going to do it right. My opinion.
yeah, and we're, from an engineering standpoint, it's a pretty easy design to get there. It's just the dollar amount to get there.
And we're not talking the ball fields, correct?
No.
Or are the ball fields up for grabs? Okay.
No.
I find the RV park and the business park two completely different deals. I trying to lump them both together, other than possibly the property valuation. If someone wants to come in and do a RV park to whatever size, we know what that property's worth. So as far as to say, if you're going to come in, you run the sewer and water, and we may give you the land if that were the case. But the RV park was nothing but a stimulus for the aviators, the ball fields, possibly the shooting range, that it was more of a support for them, not so much as a business venture is part of the business park. Now, if we want to talk about the business park alone, I would like to see the breakdown on the map, like you're saying,
Well,
as far as just what are we talking about. The other thing is, if somebody does come in and say, okay, I'd like to buy this, is this a single business, or are they open to creating a
multiplex of
a
business.
multiplex something? I don't know just what it is that we're wanting
Like
to.
one building with 5 different businesses in it or something?
Yeah.
No,
Well, Jack,
Yes, sir.
excuse me, we do already have those stipulations in place of what can go into that business park.
That's correct.
So, yes, it could be a lot of different things. It could be
Mhm.
a customer comes in and says, I'm taking the whole thing. You know, and this is gonna be, we're gonna build a business complex for one business. Or someone could come in and say, I wanna build 6 different buildings here and, a central area and whatever, and it's gonna be my little 40-acre business park. But those uses and everything have already been established, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
So that's easy enough. I mean, as far as, to look at what could be allowed. What I think about right now is the valuation of the land. Was that with utilities or without utilities?
So I went out with him to do his investigation, just the preliminary part to show him where it was at. And because we have a 5-year CIP, capital improvement project plan underway, he was able to kind of say possibility of utilities coming up in the business park area. That's why you see a little bit of a difference between your pricing here, is because it does take into account infrastructure things.
So would you think then at this point in time, without the infrastructure, that we're at the low end?
Yes, probably.
And then as we offer up, that, I can
So-
see the RV park going in without gas. Everybody coming in
Yeah,
there's
no,
got
yes.
propane on board,
Mhm.
but you still have to have water and sewer.
I agree, water and sewer, yeah, 100%.
So,
Can you go back to that last map? I'm sorry, Lonnie.
no,
I
it's
walked on
okay.
you.
I think that the gas is very much more important when you start going toward the business park than it is for the RV park.
I agree. Can you get closer to the business park? I mean, the business park, the C. Okay, now Frank.
Here.
What we're out for bid for have already accepted. Where is the sewer and water lines going in there? Or
They're starting at Jerome Junction and continuing to about the D in Rodeo Drive, the
And
first
that's
D.
gonna be the cul-de-sac, correct?
It's an intersection,
Intersection?
Road this way and a road this
so
way.
it's just one straight line. That's it.
about 800 feet.
Is
And
that
the
water and sewer or water or sewer?
water and sewer. The sewer takes a different route because of the culvert that we're putting in. So we'll go cross country with the sewer, follow the force main, and then come back and connect to the road.
So Maggie, drag your mouse over to where you're talking about the RV park.
So the interested party is looking at, they're open to it, this one, or this one. We kind of recommended this spot, considering that it's a lot closer to where we currently are going to reach, and then it would have to be drugged down here.
How far is it, Frank, roughly?
Quarter mile. Each of those grids is a quarter mile by quarter mile.
So you quarter
And
to 3/8 of a mile.
and for reference, I believe the phase 2 of the CIP given in the Old Home Manor master plan got to that corner right
Hmm.
there where Maggie's pointing to.
Mhm. It
So
does.
when is second phase?
Depends on the money. It's called year 2, but that's where council, it's up to having the money to do it.
Go ahead.
Is right where Valley is that where the equestrian center is?
Yeah, so the
That's
equestrian
the
center.
begin.
No, sorry. No, go ahead.
I was just gonna say yes. That's pretty close to the edge of their lease line.
Okay.
There we go.
I think having the RV park right bordering the equestrian center is just
Yeah.
a no-brainer.
Yeah.
The other, whether we're talking about the shooting range or the aviators, if they camp there, they can drive over with their model airplanes, where if you have slots there that you could actually bring in your horse trailers, and ride right into the equestrian center from the RV park, that it's a combo use type deal. So I would see earmarking that one is because again, that is our purpose for this. As far as the business park end, I would almost like to see that street with the intersection there. I have a hard time picturing what 20 acres, 40 acres, or 80 acres, how that really looks next to that road that we're talking about. If we're gonna spend the money to put that road in with the utilities there, then ever how we want to section that off, 20 acre, 20 acre, 20 and 20. And again, I don't really know what that looks like. I'm just imagining,
Sure.
could you surround that street that we're creating with how many 20s? Or,
Tens.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you could. So one of the things that we were talking about with this person who submitted an LOI was definitely that, hey, when you do start drawing up your plans, please consider putting in horse stalls and trails, because that's going to be unique to this area, obviously, with the equestrian center out
there's-
there.
Roughly 165 acres and a quarter mile, quarter square mile.
100 and,
43.
sorry, I couldn't hear.
165 acres roughly in a quarter square mile. Because a square mile is 660, right?
Yes.
640.
40.
640.
Those are
So that'd
40
be
acre.
320.
Those are
it'd be
40 acre
160.
squares.
okay, those are 40 acre squares.
And quarter mile each side. So around 40 acres is 1 mile exactly.
Okay,
if
so-
you rode a horse
So
around
the
it.
road that we're bringing in, we're going to go up to what point?
Right here.
Right.
About 3/4 of the way through one of those 40 acre parcels.
Okay.
So just to make a comment, when we met with, Frank and I met with the possible
2/3.
developer, and they brought their engineer, he was their engineer, correct? And he's worked on RV parks before, and he's the one that actually suggested that in the interim, we could use the plant as a dumping station until we got
Right.
sewer up,
The-
right?
Yeah, but thinking about it, the only hitch with that is you typically have some sort of clubhouse or structure within an RV park too that would need
And
bathroom
if those pipes
facilities.
don't go in the ground now, they ain't never gonna go in.
Okay, to me, the RV park really is immaterial to me. We're looking for economic development. We want to create, so focusing on the RV park, I'm just,
Okay,
Well,
well,
the only, the
Other
only,
than it attracts people to the town.
yeah, the only thing though, Corey, is it's not gonna be just the shooting range, just the aviators, or the people that are right there. We've got the capability of bringing in our recreation department. We have a great facility. We have the ability to bring in soccer tournaments and softball tournaments and things. These people have no place to stay,
yes.
so they don't come here. If they can, I mean, I've went to Payson for years, every year that they had the softball tournament up there, and we camped. We took our trucks, our campers, or our trailers, and we stayed the weekend, and that was what it was. It was a Payson softball weekend. So there's a lot of that stuff could go on too, and there literally is no place in this town to stay.
Agreed, but I think the whole RV park issue, what you're talking about, is gonna be a whole nother isolated conversation. Because I think whoever comes in and wants to invest their money in that, they're not gonna leave that vacant for the softball tournaments,
Oh, no.
and
No.
all that. Yeah, and I'm really concerned about the RV park, again, just becoming a low-income housing or a affordable housing, which again, that's all within the RV park conversation.
What-
And I'm not going to disagree, everything that you're saying, absolutely, I agree with.
Which is another point to have sewer put in, because like if you look out there at the fairground or the horse racing, those vehicles have been there a long time.
Oh, yeah.
And they got fences built around them, and they're not gonna pull them out to go to a dump station. So
We are talking
Again,
short term.
Right, and that was, again, the dump station was a brainstorming. If council doesn't want to do that, that's fine. I'm an engineer. I can tell me what you want, and it can be built for a price. So, yeah, we can extend utilities to get there. It's just gonna cost money to do that.
I understand.
Okay.
Which the whole purpose of what Maggie created this for is we don't have the money to do that because we already visited this and we knew what our costs were to run sewer and water out there. And there was not the revenue, an RV park is not going to make the revenue to pay for those sewer and water lines to run out there. We already went through that before.
Yes, and may I comment? Councilman. So yes, an RV park is a definite economic development driver for a lot of reasons. Tourism is a billion-dollar industry in the state of Arizona. If we could just tap into just a little bit of it, which is why this tourism campaign is being launched as we speak, that brings in cars. So those cars, if you average one car for 3 people, spend $250 a day, not even an overnight stay on average in your community. So if you do the numbers on that, it's definitely, they'll come to your restaurants. They'll start going down Perkinsville Road, sorry, Annie Perkins, in their UTVs, and they will be visiting with no place to stay. They won't stay the night and spend double what they would have spent. So it is a huge economic driver. It's usually market driven. So in all the research that I've done and called on other RV parks, you can definitely put into whatever development agreement that you have that this is short term, that you have to be considered maybe even luxury where you have a year made or whatever it may be. You can definitely put that in there to where you don't have it being because we definitely don't want it to be long term and looking bad and everything else. And yes, for the model aviators, the equestrian center, all of that, they will love having that there, especially the gun range with all the overnight things they do. But people are going to start coming to visit us and they don't have anywhere to stay. And then they go stay in Prescott or Camp Verde or somewhere else. So I just wanted to make that clarification.
So, Ann, we can use the sales proceeds to extend the water, help pay for extending portions of the water and sewer line. Plus, they're going to be paying water and sewer buy-in fees in addition to that. So it all goes. If we put it all into that development fund, it should help fund most of it.
Yeah.
If not all.
On the back end,
How
Joe,
many
is that what
acres
you
do
mean?
we want for an RV park?
I would say start with the 40-acre parcel. That's up to you guys, obviously. If you wanted
Okay.
to start with 20 and then let them, but I was waiting to kind of hear all of your staff is looking for directions so that then we can talk about this letter of intent that came in.
Well, can we talk about that a little bit, what they're proposing, so we kind of get an
I don't, if we don't,
It's not on the agenda.
we're not, and I'm not ready to, I was waiting for this first. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Okay,
there's
so-
I'm
always-
teasing with the fruit.
So then, so that we can get somewhere, do we want to pick out a 40-acre spot and say this is where we would allocate for the RV park?
I think that would be wise.
Well, I think the northwest corner is the one that makes sense. It's the closest to where we need to get to.
That one there, or the next
Councilman
one
Long,
over?
this one?
That one or the next one west?
No, the
next-
one to the west there.
Here, or what?
No,
Oh,
yeah, right there.
yeah.
We're the closest to water and sewer right there, correct?
Okay.
If you go up in that northwest corner of that property, I mean,
Now, as the business park grows, is that gonna be any conflict there? You think, no big deal? Or as our business park expands to the east, do we
No,
wanna
where am I at?
scoot the RV park up the hill a little bit further?
That's,
Mm-mm.
could I maybe jump in
No,
okay.
but go ahead anyway.
I'm okay.
The current business park is the one to the left. That's the end of the business park zoning, is
Yep.
that line between those two parcels.
Hang on.
Down
Yep.
there.
This is the business park, the
You know,
Let's see.
U-shaped.
go
the
back
C.
to the southeast corner of it. Go to your right, other right.
Your other right.
Keep
East.
going to that line. Go back to the line. That's the border of the business park.
Correct.
Okay, just want to make sure. And I will just say on the RV park, just with considerations from discussions I had, there's also maybe some benefit in that parcel just below that, because depending on which person you're talking to, they may want that access to Perkinsville Road.
But that just means
Other
more,
than off of Rodeo?
Right.
that just means more water and sewer lines.
Well, I understand that, but from looking and trying to walk in their shoes with the business point of view, it's more exposure on a main road like
Well,
that.
I also see that road going to hell long before
I understand that.
as well. So I see Rodeo as pretty much being,
Or Old Home Manor.
Well, right, but I'm just telling you the conversations that I've had with folks looking at it from their business point of view. They like the access on Perkinsville from the size of the Perkinsville Road.
This one's also very
I'm
nice
not
because
trying to judge it.
Cindy Blackmore.
Well, we could go out there with the option and look at what interest is in the market, because we can designate all we want, but if those parcels aren't going to work for a business, they're not even going to come and offer us any money. And so, we could just look at what's interest is out there for these portions. And again, remember, it's all going to come back to you for approval again.
I agree.
Where's the road, the tentative road that we went out to bid is right between those 240s.
Can I get up,
Yeah.
Aaron? Okay.
Thank you.
Physically,
The current project?
Is that road? But what about year two? Wasn't there another road going in?
Yeah, it's going to keep going.
Utilities from there.
That was the driving force between selling the land for the RV park, or for wherever, selling that first 40 acres to make the money to extend. the-
Correct. If I remember rightly, it was about $1.5 million in year two or something like that. So if we could get some money going, even one parcel, that may help us.
So
Business Park Road's kind of like this.
That's the road you're talking about.
I'm talking the one that we're going to put
Yeah,
water
that-
and utilities on would be right there. Okay. So kind of surrounding that road, if I run 2, 3, 4 squares, no, 440s.
There's C
One,
shape. That's
2, 3, up. No, we wouldn't have the one up.
that's a
that's the
sewer,
treatment
sewer
plant.
plant.
Yeah.
So those three right there could almost all be accessed if we, take a little bit of juggling. The lines really aren't a wall. But as far as those 340s, if we wanted to put those on the market for the suggested price, and then do we want to go with, we had 3 levels of pricing. I think those would all be on the higher pricing because we're going to have sewer and water right almost to those property lines.
True.
Huh? Yes, yeah, 2 different things. I'm just looking just
have
for
the
the
zone.
business park alone so that we can, again, even if we take the 40 on, the one on top and the one on the bottom, and we could, if they want to take the full 40 or they just want to take the front 20 off of each side of that road, and we want to put a price tag on it according to what their valuation is, I'm good with that.
I agree with you. But looking at it from a buying standpoint, I don't know why you'd want that one the road's in, because you're gonna have however many feet that is, it's pretty much unusual to you.
May I make a suggestion a little bit?
Sure.
As business owners are going to look at that, and I don't know that they're going to want to be pigeonholed into one of those particular parcels, especially if they do want Perkinsville access, or maybe they want that corner that's on Old Home Manor Drive right next to the ball field. I don't know that you'd want to necessarily, that's just my suggestion. I think that maybe you should allow them.
There's no utilities out there.
There's electric right there. There's actually high-speed internet. There is a major flowing well right there. There are some water lines actually all over there. Correct, Frank?
You're
Those
talking
small
the
ones.
3-inch lines?
Mm-hmm.
We have some,
But there's no pressure system on it.
we
Yeah,
have
there
some
is.
3-inch lines, but it wouldn't meet
Yeah.
fire flow.
But that's what tanks are for.
You'd need to sprinkle.
But
You,
there's no
you can't
sewer.
meet fire flow with a 3-inch line. There's
sewer.
not enough water to push through it.
And no sewer.
So there are many camping
So we-
spots throughout Arizona that have RV places that don't have sewer. But you're able to at least service the people that want to come to your town for now until we can manage to get it there. That's just thoughts of
Not in
mine.
my opinion, I don't like that idea.
Are
'Cause
we
I don't think it's
selling
gonna
on the
happen.
promise of
Yeah, that's true.
water and sewer, or are we actually thinking we can get water and sewer to these places before we sell?
Well, I think that's what Corey's whole point is the business part, figure out what we want to sell there in that C shape, and then take that money and extend it on over to make the RV park more,
If
Yes.
somebody's
Hooked up.
amenable to coming in on
Yeah,
a promise
yeah.
of sewer and water.
I think that's what Corey's been trying to say. isn't it?
Yes.
Or if the RV park is legit, use the funding from that sale to extend the water and sewer.
Oh,
So
either
way.
yeah, either
Just
way,
keep
you,
rolling
just as
the
long
money
as you
into it.
got the money to do
As I
it.
say, I would have no problem, if they're gonna put in the water and sewer, improvements, and that land is worth whatever is said there, give them the land, put it. put it into improvements.
Yeah.
Yeah, no problem there. But it wasn't happening before because we went down that road and the cost exceeded, the payback, and so
Right. And
for
there's
for us to develop an RV park, we gotta create some more revenue. That's why I keep going back to the business park. Okay, let's figure out what we've got for sale there that is gonna be, or do you just wanna put a for sale sign all over all of it, and then whatever you sell, you sell?
That's
Is that really what you're trying to?
I would recommend trying to sell the business park, yes. I think that it's time. I think that you guys, way before me, this has been going on since 2000. There are, the APS has put money, the Arizona
1865.
Commerce Authority has put money. There were plans done and then council changed. I think that you might be surprised that, with the way we are starting to become a little bit more on the map and how with COVID, companies are wanting to go into more rural communities, that if you actually list with a broker who's even international, you might find that you might have more interest than you think. So my recommendation would be to definitely list the business park. I can't do everything that I'm doing and try to sell the park without help, because they create all the collateral, all the marketing materials, like really fancy packages that I could take with me, and it's all free for us.
We're talking
So-
fluff. I understood. That's what your thing already set up there, is you recommend using,
Those 5 parcels.
using a legit,
Yeah, I do.
that's what that
Correct.
subnote was.
Frank,
And yes,
in order to make some dump stations at the on our lot up there, is that possible?
dump stations
To dump out the RV dump stations?
we've talked about dump stations all along for our treatment plant, and
So the RVs can pull in, and I know you said they needed a clubhouse, but if we made one, so if they went to go to that bottom corner one you're talking about, there's water, high-speed internet, everything's down there. Short term, they just pull out, drive around, dump out,
Well, no.
and they can pretty much get the one on the corner there off
are you looking for
Perkinsville.
are you looking for the town to do this, or are you looking for a developer to do this?
Well, if it's at our station up there, that's why I'm asking Frank what the cost would be to
You
put a
talking about
couple of them in.
Putting a dump station that goes into what?
The sewer
Into the
tier
sewer.
treatment plant.
So we're still gonna have to extend the pipe the whole way.
Well, it's right there. It's right down it's
Which lot are you talking about?
Can I point?
Please.
So within this first project of doing the road to here, we are also bringing the sewer over to here and up to here. So potentially in a second phase, you could run a line over to near the driveway of our sewer plant and have those dump into our sewer system, which it looks funny being so close to the plant, but you would let it run down to the lift station and then back up into the plant. And we would need to do some work to bring you some cost estimates on that. The trick is that dump stations are a little different than septic receiving. It's a different type of influent. So septic receiving, not so good with the plant. Maybe we would want to look a little closer at dump stations because it's not as potent of a material as septic.
I'm sorry, Frank, you just said that you're gonna bring the sewer line in an L shape, but earlier you said we're just extending it to up Rodeo Drive.
Right, but I said because of the culvert, we have to go over across country with the sewer line.
So you're coming up whatever road that,
The sewer's currently here.
okay, and
Going
you're gonna
east
come
and then
up and then down south.
Because we're putting a culvert in here, the sewer will not go underneath the culvert, so we're bringing the sewer across. If you see this faint line,
Uh-huh.
that's already the force main for the sewer now.
Okay,
There's a pipe in the ground now. We would just follow that pipe with a gravity pipe that goes back towards the lift station. And then we would come back here and catch the road. We would go around this low spot
okay.
is all we have. We had to do that because of grades. And that's already in the plans.
All right, so I want to ask Maggie to make sure if I'm on the page, same page you are, is you're saying, I want to be able to sell whatever somebody wants to buy for the most part when it comes to the business park, and even possibly out of those 3 parcels, the RV park. If they know they're buying with what's there, then they have to be prepared to pay if they want sewer, if they want water. You know, they're buying the land they're buying.
Did
If
you
the
say
people that-
the RV park could go in one of those?
No, he said.
No, I'm just saying the other 3 parcels down here where the ballpark is,
Okay,
you know,
okay.
down in there. But say somebody wants to buy that lower left-hand one because they want access from Perkinsville Road. Okay, this is how far your sewer is. So, but, and I'm also not opposed as far as somebody come in and say, look, we're gonna start our RV park here and it's gonna be dry camping. We're just gonna put in a place for people to park their RVs and they're on their own. You know, they got generators, they've got water on board, and they figure out what they're gonna do with their poop when they're done, if they take it home with them or go to Ace and dump it or someplace else, like anybody else that camps. So that gives a lot more options, correct?
And would limit long-term.
And then, they can take that RV park and change it from a dry campground to whatever they want to down the road.
What
And-
would be the minimum size of that? Would you go with a 20-acre minimum size?
Oh, I think if we're gonna sell land, it just makes sense to me when I look at the big picture there, that I would think a 20-acre parcel would be minimum. What do you think, Maggie? What's your thought?
Those are 40s, those boxes, right?
So,
Is that right?
well,
Would
probably that's good. So the letter of intent that came in was 40, and then with options to go even more outside of that
Okay.
later.
Yeah.
I think they want to start with like 200 plus spots.
So maybe we do 40s
Okay.
as
So-
far as a minimum.
I would bring in a
Can we go
huge
back to
revenue.
Sure.
your price
Huge.
per acres?
So if you're kind
Being
of
that
at
the
a
3
mid,
ranges
yeah.
along, let's just talk the business park area, along the road that we're putting in, we could, what did we say? There was 3 40s that could access roughly off of that road. So, or if they just wanted to do the front portion of it, would we consider the 20 frontage, or would we want them to go the full 40 square? Is that,
I think based on what Maggie's just said and our conversation, I'd go out there and put 40s for sale. If somebody comes in and says, I only want 20, okay, we can negotiate that. It's not in stone.
because otherwise it would require a road on the back side of those 20s, you know, so
An access,
to access the next 20 back.
Right.
So if we go to 40s surrounding, and actually that, I like that, because what I'm really looking forward to is a larger manufacturer coming in there that's actually going to employ people,
Mm-hmm.
is what I'm
Mhm.
thinking that will really make this whole business park worthwhile.
I agree.
So if we're gonna spend the money that the town is putting in the street with the water, the sewer, then, and we're gonna do it with the 40 acres, which value do we wanna put that on?
Right.
Put it on the high value for those?
If there's water, if we're paying for water and sewer and whatnot, absolutely put it on the
Does
high
the
value.
street go into it?
The only thing to be missing would be gas, right?
Yes.
Which could come in anytime.
Well, then whoever wants to come in, they can negotiate with the gas company on getting that in.
Well, and even that, that's what I asked before was, did they price this, are these prices for utilities or not utilities? So,
With the possibility of utilities.
possibility. So maybe
Could it be
the
more?
parcels that already have it there, instead of $37,000 are $57,000.
So
Right.
we need to redo that,
When the broker comes in, they'll help us market all that
Yeah.
Right.
appropriately.
Correct. That's
So
right.
so even parcels without utilities already could still be the high value, the
So-
37,000.
Yeah, so that's still, yeah, so what'll happen is, I'll put on my commercial real estate hat for a second. They'll come in, they'll meet with you and say, hey, here's where we're gonna list it at. You always are gonna list it a little bit higher, so you have that room for negotiation. They'll give you their recommendation based on with their own comparables that they have, and they'll probably look at this. What doesn't hurt about listing it is you don't have to act on it. You get someone to come out and market it, put it out there in the world for you for free, and if they come to you with something you don't like, just no.
Right.
So this is all just free to get and it just puts us in a place where it's a smart move in that way, because everything has to come before you no matter what. But you're at least putting it out there.
What I see here, that because we have done some extensions in town, I'm looking at the dollar amounts. If we're talking $1.5 million, that will definitely help,
Absolutely.
expand
Yeah. And-
for what things cost these days. Yeah, if the thing was only, $480,000, then there's really not much use, because you're not gonna create enough cash to really do any expansion. Those amount of values I see as being able to keep developing more roads in there, but I really don't want to spend any more taxpayer money expanding Old Home Manor any more than what we have. But this would support itself, and I think we could then
Yeah, that's why
keep it going.
it's a sustainable. It came in just where we hoped it would.
So, would it be acceptable to tell Maggie, you're open, the business park is open, and those other 3 parcels,
There's 5 parcels in the business park.
5, and then there's 3 more around.
5.
There's 3 more that on the west side 2, and on the north side 1 from where the ballparks are right now, as potentials for maybe the RV park.
Sure. I mean, we can always, if we don't like it, we can kick it out.
That's right.
Well, and if
Or if we
and
like it, we
and
can accept it.
if something starts going on with the business park and she sells 1 40-acre parcel for an RV park, then maybe at that time we say, okay, well, let's take those other 2 off the market for right now, or go, one of the 2. But
Well, that's the great
But-
thing is you have complete control of any scenario. This is just a free way for us to get it marketed and say, hey, we don't have access to what's called CoStar or LoopNet or anything that costs money that commercial brokers use on a daily basis. It's very expensive. And so that'll go up on all of those international websites that we don't have access to at the moment for free. So again, if we do that, it's not a bad thing, because no matter what comes at you, if you don't like it, then it's just no,
right,
you know.
we can't we
So-
can't send her out and tell her to swim with her hands tied behind her back.
Yes.
So
Thank you. Please don't. I don't want to drown.
You know, if you've ever been a lifeguard, you learn how to tread water. I've been treading water for a while.
Okay, we beat this up. Are we done with it?
Can I just add an
Oh, yeah.
unpopular opinion?
No, but go ahead.
Okay. Can you bring the Old Home Manor, the GIS map back up? If I had I know no one's asking, and the broker's not asking, and the buyers aren't asking. If I had it my personal way, yeah, I would absolutely go there. Or actually, 1 parcel to the left, right there, because the point of
That's the one
selling.
we're talking about.
Yeah, the point of selling, initially when we first started talking about selling land this past couple of years, it was to sell a 40-acre piece in that price point to finish the water, sewer, everything to that intersection. So I'm in favor, if someone wants to buy that for an RV park, I'm in favor of that one specifically. The other ones I don't really care for, but that's just my 2 cents. And then that would carry the water and sewer to that corner, and they can do their upgrades.
With the equestrian location to that one, do we want to reserve that one for RV?
I think most people that haul their horses to events have portable panels they put up usually for their horses to stay in. I don't know if we necessarily need to reserve one. I mean, yeah, in a perfect world, if I had it my way, I'd be like, yeah, that's where the RV park's going. And it's not going to be long-term, and there will be no storage units.
Well, I mean, and the other thing too, if this is kind of what we've talked about before, these are the spots for that if they wanted to go here, depending how it goes, which I think they're going to be very successful. This is my opinion. I don't have a crystal ball, but that's my thoughts, that they would want to expand upon their successes. So, it might not not be just one or the other. So, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, anything else? Nothing? Nothing? All right. We'll be adjourned. Thank you.
Did we provide direction?
Yes, can you please give me specific?
I thought we
I-
did.
I think we did.
The-
so-
The 5 lots
Okay.
and then the
8
RV lot.
parcels.
Okay, thank you,
They
thank
said
you.
swim.
Those
Yeah,
three.
swim.
Oh, okay.
Tread.
For the highest price you can get.
Okay, you're getting flippers now. How about that?
I wanted to show
Are
you
you
something.
adjourning us?
We're adjourned.
Are we supposed to do a thing?
I wanted to show you this.
Are we supposed to do a
Don't get overrun by it, but have you ever heard of the Vietnam War wall, the wall that heals the traveling